It's wonderful to be back. The first poem I'm going to read is really based on one of those memes which I discovered recently, that's probably been around for about 10 years, maybe more. And the meme is, "I'll just leave this here." And I noticed that whenever someone was going to say something really extraordinary, or some extraordinary picture, they'd say, "I'm just leaving this here. I'll just leave this here." And I looked this up I was looking up this phrase because I thought, if I made this up, are people really writing this? But no, the Urban Dictionary says it's stupid to put it. Now, I'm not taking the moral high ground on the issue, but I thought I'd write this poem. I'll just leave this here. The Druids of Clare saw their ancestors fly through the ages in the form of birds. Welsh poets sailed in the warship Prydwen, fought with Arthur round a castle of glass. What would soul birds and sailors think of us, stray winter migrants from the marvellous? We chance our landlocked spells to mask the fear. The best we manage, I'll just leave this here. This is called Gravidlax, and I suppose it's a sort of suburban nightmare. Gravidlax. The nights were short and the drinks were long in the suburb without an herbs. Every parking space reached a state of grace when the Gravidlax was served. The potholes sang and the glasses rang to the roll of bin on curb, while the golf course lay en déshabillé in the suburb without an herbs. The joy that springs from suburban things lies buried in the stars as they spin away with the dawning day from this broken world of ours. And two final shortish poems. This one is a response to Lady Mary Wortley Montagu, who was famous in the 18th century for, and is not forgotten today, for bringing the smallpox inoculation from Istanbul over here. So I was thinking about her recently. She's a wonderfully witty poet, and she, a little bit like Rambo, I suppose, started very young, when she was very, very early 20s, so even goodness me, he really did start young, Rambo, and writing sort of satires about entrapment within marriage and all sorts of things like that for some of the early issues of the Spectator. But she wrote this wonderful sort of wry Ovidian poetry. So this is my response to reading Lady Mary Wortley Montagu's poems while reading Lady Montagu. And it begins with an extract from her poem The Lover, a Ballad. And she lived from 1689 to 1762. So this is while reading Lady Montagu. I loathe the lewd rake, the dressed fopling despise. Before such pursuers, the nice virgin flies. And as Ovid has sweetly in parables told, we harden like trees, and like rivers grow cold. While reading Lady Montagu, the panther in her heart escapes from Rilke's poem to outwit Augustan art. While reading Lady Montague, her atoms and her bees collide in hailstorms racing from the western Pyrenees. While reading Lady Montague, I'm rarely keen to please, as her women dance with Ovid through their metamorphoses. While reading Lady Montague, I don't lose any time collecting fresh hypocrisies to skewer with my rhyme. And finally, this is a very short little poem called When a City Falls. And it has some vague resemblance to a simile in Book 2 of Virgil's Aeneid. When a City Falls. It's always the same when a city falls. Aeneas on the roof, sleep in his eyes, shouldering the hypervigilance of shepherds, as a south wind scatters fire through flocks and panicked fields loaded with grain. When a city falls, it's always the same. Thank you.
Richard Hawtree, the only man I know who can make a suburban nightmare sound like a glass of hot milk.